Welcome back to the show. So I appreciate you coming back for part 2 of this new series. So last week we talked about the 3 buckets. That was that liquid, the locked, and the living bucket. So that was the foundation. And like anything else with a foundation, we're going to continue to move throughout this whole thing. So today we're going to be moving into the part that most people never learn, how these buckets actually work together. How coordination gives your money direction instead of chaos. How structure becomes your financial advantage. Most people think they need more income, getting these second jobs or doing these little side hustles. What they actually really need is alignment. So stay tuned and let's get into this new one. All right, so welcome back. So why do people feel overwhelmed with money? Let's talk about that. Why do we feel overwhelmed when it comes to money? Is it time? Is it lack of money? Okay, let's be real. Most families are not failing because they're irresponsible. What I will tell you is, and I could be a little bit biased because I am American, but I don't think Americans are irresponsible at all. I think they're failing because there's no organized system telling their money where to go. Money comes in, money goes out. Bills, your bills are getting paid, but nothing is predictable. Nothing is coordinated. So here's what happens in most households. And again, this is just average, so don't get your feelings hurt. Money lands in a checking account or into a savings account. Okay. Bills pull from the same account. All right. Emergencies sometimes come in and hit at the wrong time. We don't know when that's going to happen. Savings, that's inconsistent. And then long-term accounts are underfunded. We're not putting money where it should go. People assume the problem is discipline. They beat themselves down, convictions and all of these other things. That's not the problem. The real problem is structure. You cannot trust a system that doesn't exist. You have to have some type of structure in there. So when your buckets are connected by design, stress is going to drop immediately. You're not reactive, okay? You're being directive where your money goes. So let's look at the role of each bucket on a deeper level. And we're going to start with that liquid bucket again. This is your access point. This is where cash enters the world. Okay, again, checking, savings account. This bucket should be simple, predictable, and stable. Most people put too much money here. They let it pile up and then it leaks away. They'll check that account and they'll say, well, I got this much. I can do a little bit of this over here. Liquid money is not meant to grow, okay? It's meant to serve. It's meant to be used, put out there to get things done. So that checking and savings account, that's not meant to do anything, okay, but be used in some other form or fashion. Now, let's look at that locked money, okay? Get to that locked bucket. This is where your growth engine starts. This is where that long-term wealth lives. Your retirement accounts, your life insurance cash values. Let's look at the long-term investments. The challenge is that people often ignore this bucket until they start getting older. And they're like, man, I need to start putting some money away because retirement is going to be 1/3 of your life. I mean, if you're thinking about 65, 67, and you're living into, 80 years old, that's a long time. So if the locked bucket is weak, your future becomes limited. And then we shift into that living money. This is the lifestyle bucket. Those monthly obligations, the recurring needs, things that constantly come out. That's your home, your utilities, transportation, the groceries, all of those subscriptions, the Netflix, the Hulu, getting your car washed, those things that we actually need to live off of, okay? That's that living money. People typically overspend here because they never clearly define the edges of the bucket, okay? Without those boundaries, our lifestyle expands until it crushes that bucket, okay? And also crushes the other 2 buckets. We're pulling from those other 2. All right, the buckets are not the goal. That's not the goal of this whole thing. The buckets are the framework that holds your financial life in place. Now, we're going to look at flow. That is the principle of this whole system and makes the whole thing work. How the money flows in and out of these buckets. A healthy system moves like this. Income enters liquid, okay, coming in from a job or wherever. Liquid sends a portion to the locked. Locked grows for the future. Living receives a controlled amount for the lifestyle. And that's the big one. That living one is really controlling our life, because you got to pay those bills. You got to pay the mortgage, or you got to pay the rent. You got to pay for utilities. You got to pay for groceries. That's the one we normally see happening. But again, liquid sends a portion to the lock. The lock is going to grow for the future, and the living receives a controlled, again, that's the word controlled, a controlled amount for your lifestyle, which we want to make sure we got under control. And if you want to look at some of my other classes, I talk about the 50, 30, and the 20 rule. You can go look at some of my other videos on that. And that's on YouTube as well. So this flow creates predictability. Predictability creates confidence. And then confidence creates long-term decisions instead of those emotional decisions that get us in trouble with our relationships. They get us in trouble all over the place. Get us in trouble on our job. If your money ain't right and somebody say the wrong thing to you, you might end up crashing out over something small. And we don't want to see that. We don't want people crashing out over something, okay, unless something that's real. So here's the question every family needs to ask themselves. Does my money move on purpose, or does it move by accident? Okay. Here at Higher Ground Financial Freedom and this podcast and this YouTube channel, everything we do is on purpose. If you want to crash out and blow your money, tell yourself, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna crash out, I'm gonna blow all my money. But at least you know you're doing it on purpose. Don't let that be on accident, okay? But we're not gonna do that. So what happens when the flow of the buckets, this whole system, is broken? Let's look at what breaks the system, all right? And that's spending from the wrong bucket. People dip into the savings, for their lifestyle. They borrow from the retirement for short-term needs. I've talked to people and they pull money from their retirement accounts to go build a fence, okay? Nothing wrong with building a fence, but why not save a little bit of money to take care of that fence? They wipe out emergency funds to cover subscriptions or entertainment. I've seen people get married on a boat. People pulling from their different accounts to go on a boat ride, okay? It's something to do, but do you really want to take money from that bucket? Once you mix the buckets, the structure is going to collapse. It is what it is, okay? Delayed gratification is a real thing. That's something that we all need to practice. I know I need to practice that. I got this new cat. That cat completely has messed up my whole delayed gratification system. Never thought it was something possible. And it's a she. Man, I'm so glad I didn't have a daughter, because I would have been whooped. Woo, good Lord. So if too much money sits in checking or savings, it's going to slowly disappear. You spend more because you see more. Liquidity, without boundaries becomes leakage. It's going to start to just seep out. When you see that money, and that's including me, if I see money inside of my account, I'm going to think, okay, I got a little bit more money here. I'm going to do something with it. All right. Underfunding that locked bucket, that's very dangerous. If that long-term accounts are inconsistent, you end up depending on future income that may not even exist. That is where that retirement stress begins. And here's the thing, it's gonna come. You're gonna find yourself in a place when you're 30, you're like, okay, I got time. 40, I got time, but I need to start really looking at this thing. When you hit your 50s, you're really gonna start leaning in, what am I gonna do? Because 60, 65, 66, 67 is right around the corner. Lifestyle is gonna creep up on you. Now that living money, that money is going to grow without control. It can quietly steal from the future. This is one of the biggest threats to generational wealth. That living money, it's so easy because things are going to come up. Things are going to happen. Life's going to happen. And here's the thing, as people, we're not going to stop living. We're going to figure it out. And a lot of times we're going to dip into places that we shouldn't dip into. And when you fix the flow, you end up fixing your future, because retirement is going to come. And you can be working in retirement, and that's not what we might necessarily want to do. So now let's look at the 3 rules that keep the whole system strong. And if you haven't written anything down yet, get your piece of paper out right now. I'm gonna wait. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3. All right. So rule number 1, every dollar must have a job. Not should. We don't live in should land. Every dollar must have a job. Okay, unassigned dollars, guess what happens to those? They disappear. We're gonna use those in that living bucket. They're gonna go somewhere. So tell your money where to go before it arrives. That is how wealthy families operate. They look at every dollar and they say, this is where you're gonna go, this is where you're gonna go. Because if we don't, that human living, our own desires, even mine, especially with Amazon, they're gonna get in the way, okay? Rule number 2, buckets never borrow from each other. If the living bucket doesn't have enough money, the answer is not to raid the liquid bucket or mess with the locked bucket. The answer is adjust your lifestyle. You need to figure it out. Practice some delayed gratification. Do not just go dipping into the buckets, messing with them, okay? You're a grown up, and that's something you can do. You can do whatever you want. You can turn this video off right now, but that makes no sense. If you don't have the money, practice some delayed gratification. The structure is more important than the moment. Let me say that again. The structure of this whole thing is more important than you just indulging in whatever it is in that moment. All right, and the last rule, number 3, review your flow every 30 days. Look at the flow, look at it. You can go download my budget on highgroundfinancialfreedom.com. It's free. You can take my classes over there for free. Here's the thing. You have to take a look at it. Life's going to change every day. Life changes. Income's going to change. And you're like, well, I'm not making more money. But guess what? Inflation's going to happen. Inflation's going to happen. So it's going to change your income. All right. Bills are going to change. If you don't realign the buckets, the system is going to start getting weaker each day, each week, each month. So you want to review it. Most families never review their flow. Here's the thing. I get it. Who wants to sit down and spend 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes looking at a budget? Okay, who wants to? I don't think nobody gets excited about looking at a budget. But if you don't spend time looking at that budget, it's going to come to bite you in the butt later on. That is why this system eventually breaks, because people do not put time and energy into looking at it. Again, it's not supposed to be sexy. It's not supposed to be cool. This is work. This is energy. You have to put time into reviewing that flow every 30 days. All right, so last week I spoke about that C word, coordination. That was the missing piece for almost everyone. Coordination means your entire financial life follows one blueprint. That blueprint tells income where to start. It tells savings where to go. It tells that long-term assets how to grow. It tells lifestyle how much it's allowed to spend. That's the big one, telling your lifestyle to sit down, shut up, because that's that 2-year-old inside of us that wants. And you can't really shut it down and quiet it. You gotta just get over there and just give it a bottle, sit down. Coordination is what separates random savers from strategic builders. That's what we're moving into, becoming strategic builders, okay? We're not just saving here. And this is what it looks like. I got some questions, people texting me, emailing me and saying, okay, you talked about coordination. Give us some examples. So that's going to be your automatic transfers, clear percentages, define caps, putting a definite cap on how much it is, predictable flow, no emotional spending decisions. If you find yourself getting overly excited, especially this time of year, okay, don't spend it. Don't. Delay gratification. Sleep on it, come back, wait, and if you still want it, then buy it. But at least you're not in that emotional state. I am a person who likes electronics. I see electronics, the new computers, and I give myself a couple of days. If I still want it a couple of days later, and I look at my living bucket and I have the money for it, then I'm gonna get it. But if it's that first day, or if it's, Black Friday or Cyber Monday, woo, I cannot do it. I've told myself, do not buy anything on Cyber Monday. It's a bad place to be. When you get this right, your money becomes a machine instead of a mystery. You know exactly where every dime is spent. So that's all fine and dandy, but let's do this. Let's look at a real world example, how a family gains control in 90 days. Let's say a family brings in $5,000 a month. Before structure, all $5,000 drops into checking. Bills are gonna hit, life's gonna happen, savings disappear, stress rises. Once they apply the bucket system with coordination, that whole flow is gonna change. So let's look at it again. 300 is gonna go into the liquid as refilled. 800 goes to the locked as an automatic long-term funding because retirement's gonna happen. The remaining money becomes structured living money with boundaries. Within 90 days, the family has predictability. Within a year, they have momentum. Within 5 years, they have a financial system that protects them automatically. You can build the same thing. You just need clarity and you need rules, and not just rules, you need to follow the rules. Bills are gonna hit, life's gonna happen, savings is gonna disappear. And when those three things happen, stress is gonna come up, okay? You have to figure out, you have to look at the flow, and you gotta put some money into that liquid, you gotta put some money into that lock, and then you gotta tell your living side of the house, hey, this is what I got in the bucket, and this is all I can spend. I cannot dip into those other two buckets. No matter how cool it looks, no matter how whatever it is, the colors and all this other stuff, this e-commerce system that we live in, and I get it, it's a lot of stuff that you just want to gotta get to. Don't touch it. All right, so next week, what we're gonna cover is part 3. And in part 3 episode, we're gonna move into the practical side of this whole thing. I'm gonna show you how to track each budget the right way, okay? And look at each bucket and how they go in and out of it. How to stabilize your lifestyle money. How to build a predictable wealth map for your family that works from month to month, month to month, and month after month. This is where your money starts serving you as opposed to just disappearing mysteriously. So if you missed part 1, go back and listen. This whole thing is going to build on each other, okay? If you gain some value today, share this with someone who needs structure in their lifestyle, okay? We all need some type of structure, but especially in our financial life. So share it. And for the full video breakdown, check out the YouTube channel, check out the YouTube videos, go back and look at them, okay? God bless. I hope you have a great day, and let's continue to get that financial freedom. Take care.